In this video, I'm showing you exactly how I would optimize this page for primary mover to help them rank better for the key phrase industrial hydraulic cylinders, and the same steps you can use to improve any page for any keyword on your site. And the reason why this process is so valuable is doing this has helped me provide my clients with bulk leads, leads from Fortune 500 companies like ConAgra, leads from NASA through Google search, SpaceX, and Abbott Laboratories. Whether or not Fortune 500 buyers are your target or not, this makes it easier for your site to be found for the primary high-value keywords and phrases you want to be ranking for. The three main processes to focus on for any page would be making sure your H tags are optimized, your content, and your internal linking. If we look at primary mover, a couple things going on here. Number one is there is no H1 on this page. And as I've talked about before, H1 is the primary title or the primary tag on a page to let a search engine or AI algorithms know and understand what you would want that page to be ranking for. So without an H1 on there, it is going to be more difficult to clearly describe what that page should rank for. So that would be step number one. And to give you an example here of what this would look like, it would be something like industrial hydraulic cylinders. That could be very simple, H1 done on the page, optimized for this key phrase. And I would venture to bet if they were to just add that on this page, it would likely increase their rankings for that key phrase. And if we look here at Ahrefs for the key phrase industrial hydraulic cylinders, the traffic potential here includes key phrases searching for hydraulic cylinder, which there's 12,000 searches for this every month. But industrial hydraulic cylinders, there's 1,100 potential traffic visitors to the site each month according to Ahrefs here. Now, if we look at the search results here, I'm going to compare here Magister, and if we look at them compared to primary mover like I'm talking about here, they're at number 15 for the key phrase industrial hydraulic cylinder. So if you look here, primary mover is DR12 and Magister is DR24. So quite a bit stronger from that perspective, but one of the lowest DR ranking sites on page one. And I'll show you a couple of reasons why that is likely the case here in a minute. So if we go back here, I mentioned H2 here, use variations and do not reuse the exact H1. And I will show you one of the processes you can use for implementing this as we look at the outline. Let's look at these details here in NEURONwriter and see what's going on, what we should do, and then we can build the outline specifically for this piece of content. And what I've done here in NEURONwriter is added the key phrase industrial hydraulic cylinders. And then it looked at the top ranking websites for that key phrase to get us an idea of how many words of content we need. You can see 452. The expected H1s here, H2s and H3s. And then if we look here at the article tab, then we have the keywords and phrases that are recommended to include and how many times, and then additional extended keywords and phrases and how many times to use them as well. So now we have an idea as to what should be done in the piece of content. What I've done already is added in Magister's content here, as well as their title and description to see where they're at. So you can see here, they have just about 500 words of content, and their title is relatively well optimized. Headings have a little bit of a gap here, terms a little bit of a gap here, but they are doing pretty well from a content perspective. So what I would do in this case is look at the title here and figure out what we need to do for title and description. What I would actually do is industrial hydraulic cylinders, and then you can add something else in here, but for the sake of brevity, I'm just going to do this. Then we'll generate a description based on this and save and close. And actually what we need to do is delete all of this content here from Magister, and then we will look at ours. So the next thing then would be thinking about H tags and then content as we're building this with internal linking. In this case, since we don't need a ton of content here, and you are probably going to understand your market pretty well, I would recommend just building an outline, dropping that into something like NEURONwriter here, and then you can create that content based on that outline. So what I'll do here is I'll go to headings and let's add the H1 in here. So this would be industrial, let's copy this, make this easy. Industrial hydraulic cylinders, and we'll make this H1. And that should immediately improve our score here, as well as include the H1 there. And then we'll use ChatGPT to build the outline. So, okay, here we go, it updated. So H1s, we don't need anything else in the H1. H2, H3, I'll just do this. Build me an outline or an article that will be about 500 words long are the H2, H3 sections. Use them naturally within the article and make them descriptive. They don't need to be used exactly as shown. Then use these keywords, phrases within the outline to prompt what the section's content should be about. So then we'll go back in Neuron here, click on article, click on basic, the copy thing, terms with suggested uses, back to ChatGPT, paste this in here, back to Neuron, down to the extended, click on this, terms and suggested uses, back into here, scroll down, paste all those in there, and then now build me an outline that I can use to write the content. You can do it this way, or you can use this to build the entire content, and then I would recommend definitely human editing it. Or you can do this completely on your own without using AI to even build an outline or the content. But building an outline within AI makes it much easier for you to understand how the article should be created, and then gives you section ideas and what to do within the content itself. The content here, then we can just copy this outline. And the interesting part here too is in most cases, the outline is going to have almost all of the optimization factors in place that we need for the article here. And then a lot of times it will have enough content actually that you can basically just use the outline almost. Okay, so I went through and cleaned this up a little bit. So we have the H1 in here, a little bit of information that you could create as far as an introduction for this. And then I styled these H2s and H3s a little bit better here. We still have some of these in here, but the value of the tool calculating this for us is looking at the keywords and phrases that are included within the different tags here. So as we look through here, again, you have these H2s and H3s in here. We have quite a few of these keywords mentioned in here. And if you're building this content out yourself, you would then look through these sections here and work to include these within these sections, of course. And then headings, same thing here. We have a lot of these. You could add in some of these other ones, a question potentially of, do you manufacture in-house, or how does that process work, something like that. And then the other thing to think about here is, now, if you're writing this article yourself, you would, as you're reading through all of these sections here, you'd look through these keywords and make sure that you're including them as needed. And I wouldn't worry too much about if you have engineering in here 3 times and it's recommended once, that's probably fine and not going to cause much issue. But if you have something like hydraulic cylinder in here 42 times and it's recommending a maximum of 18, you might run into some over optimization issues. And then lastly, headings, H1s I wouldn't touch, H2, H3, you can see here some of these are recommending to be included, and you could work to include something like manufacture if it made sense within an H2 or an H3, but a plural like hydraulics versus hydraulic, probably not a major deal there unless you could include it naturally within an H2 or an H3 heading. Now you can see here the difference. The score here, 75, is just the outline. That doesn't even have the full content in here yet. And it's showing that we have solid term match, solid title match, solid headings match, and the optimization factors that we have in place for this are already better than the competitor site we were looking at. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the content section and how internal linking factors into this. So a couple different ways to handle this. One would be if this is your website and your brand and you understand how other products and categories on your site are related and would make sense to include within the content, then you can just add those in naturally. If not, then you would spend some time figuring out which of these other pages or products make sense to link to from this page. And as a quick example here, let's just say that you're talking about how your hydraulic cylinders are related to a hydraulic power unit, for example. So what you would do is have some text in here like this. If you're building a complete system, a hydraulic power unit is required. And then you would add a link to this section here. So if we go here, link, and you'd add that link to your hydraulic pumps, and you can change the specifics here, new window if you wanted to, the title of the link, text to display, all that stuff. And then you can see here now, you have an internal link on that page to your hydraulic power unit section, or hydraulic pumps, whatever you wanted to use it as. I would just use a descriptive anchor text, and you can modify it slightly for your internal links. You wouldn't necessarily need to use hydraulic power units or hydraulic pumps for every single one of your internal links. You can mix it up, but Having a handful of internal links on each of your pages like this helps provide search engines and algorithms with an understanding of what pages are related to each other on your site. Makes it easier for you to rank for those keywords and phrases you want to rank for as well. In conclusion, the 3 factors I would focus on to optimize basically any page on any site is looking at and making sure you have H tags set up correctly, your content is optimized and has enough content and not too much that is optimized and set up and structured with the keywords and phrases you want to rank for, and that you are internally linking your products and pages together strategically and with the right anchor text to get the best value from your optimization and to provide algorithms with the understanding of what your content is about. Hopefully you got some value from this video. If you did, subscribe to my channel. I'd greatly appreciate that. And that's it. I'll see you in the next one.